Hi friends, welcome back. Today I have a free card class to share with all of you, and I am excited to show you how I get some of my ideas for my cards, because if you're like me, sometimes we draw a blank and we can't come up with an idea for a layout for our cards, right? It's not just me, right? I think it happens to all of us. And what I like to do is I'll go through either my catalogs from Stampin' Up, or I'll pull out cards that I've been given over the years from friends, as well as cards that I have made over the years, and I get lots of great ideas and inspiration. It's a great starting point, and it's a lot of fun when you're casing these cards, and case stands for copy and share everything. When you case the cards using different products and stamps, and just seeing the difference, it's so cool. And quite often when you start casing a card, you start tweaking it. Your creative juices start flowing and you start just going off in different directions, and you just have so much fun, but sometimes you just need that spot to jump off from. So this is what I do quite often, and in today's video I'm going to show you not only the 4 cards that are part of the class, but also the 4 cards that gave me the inspiration that I cased. So I hope you enjoy this class. Without further ado, let's start stamping. Okay, I mean seriously. I went and made room so Forrest wouldn't have to leave the desk, put down another placemat, and didn't he decide he's going to stretch across both placemats, giving me no room at all to stamp. Well, guess what? I'm going to move you. Okay, you may have to excuse the pause in the video for a few minutes. All right, let's move on. Card number 1. This is the card that we're going to be making. And I'm going to pull out the bits and pieces for it. Everything's all pre-cut, ready to go. And I never even mentioned the stamp sets that I'm using. All these cards, all 4 cards, feature the Notes of Nature and Nature's Prints. Surprise, surprise, right? Notes of Nature, of course, and it goes so nicely with Nature Prints. So these are the 2 stamp sets that I'm using on all cards. Like, I hope you guys aren't minding the pause. My card base is basic white, and this card base measures 8.5 by 5.5. All 4 cards are the same. They measure the same. Then I have a piece of Azure Afternoon cardstock. This measures 4 by 5.25. So I'm going to go ahead and put this onto my card base. Then I have a piece of basic white. This measures 3 3/4 by 5. So before I put this on my card, I'm going to stamp, and I'm going to stamp with crumb cake first. So I'm going to stamp it about halfway down. And I apologize if the lighting isn't that great today. It's getting late in the afternoon, and I also usually have an extra light, which is not working at the moment. I'm going to stamp the leaves, and I'm going to stamp them with Old Olive, Garden Green, Mossy Meadow. All those colors would work great. I just kind of pulled some of the colors that are out of the DSP, which is the Flight and Airy Celebration Designer Series paper. So I'm going to stamp here, here, and here. I'm going to pull this color in with my blender pen. I'm going to zoom in just a bit for you. Now I'm bringing in Bubble Bath, and on my original card I used Calypso Petal Pink. I'm going to use Bubble Bath this time around. Okay, that's what we have so far. The next color that I'm bringing in is Blackberry Bliss. And I'm just going to stamp the splatters onto my card using that. pop of color. I'm going to stamp some more right there and here. All right, that's it for stamping on that piece. So this is going to go onto my card base. Okay, and I used a punch that I always forget the name of. Oh, lasting label. This is the punch I'm using right here. This is on page 148 of our current annual catalog, May 23 to April 24. And I've already gone ahead and punched those out as well. And I also punched the DSP, which you almost don't want to use this pattern even though it's so pretty, because look at the little bird is really pretty. And I mean, you could, nothing says you can't. You could certainly do that. That would look really nice. But let me show you the original card. See how I used my circle punch? Or sorry, that's my decal circle die, the small decal circle die. So that's what we're going to do. So many options, so many options. So I'm going to bring in my Azure Afternoon ink pad. And I'm going to sponge some of that ink just around the edges. I'm going to put a little bit of glue right in here. And I'm going to just line those up like that. Right? Cool. Now before I put that on, I need to get some tear and tape, and I have some twine. So I'm going to take a piece of tear and tape, stick it right here because I want that twine to come over on this side. So let's just get my take your pick tool. That'll make life easier. There we go. And I'm just going to take one end of this twine. And I personally I never feel like there's a right or wrong when it comes to doing things like this. Just do whatever floats your boat, whatever pickles your fancy. This just adds some nice texture to your card. I do like to have them overlapping a bit though. Okay, now we're going to take some Stampin' Dimensionals. This way, which will be different from the original card. I always like to show you guys a bit of a variation from the original. And now I need my circle, which of course is the one thing I don't have cut. As I'm getting my dies, I thought I would show you, I've been reorganizing my shelves, constant work in progress. Those are my some of my favorite retired stamp sets, which there's a double layer. There's more stamps behind those. And then my cardstock, my cards, stuff. But I want to show you, I found these baskets at the dollar store and I love them. They're plastic, but they look like knit. And they hold so many stamps and dies. So, because I don't always keep my dies in with my stamp sets, so I just, these were from the baskets I had here before. So I just have current and then some retired dies, some more retired dies and folders. So I'm really liking that storage. It's making me super happy. And then these are some of the other baskets that you can get round. That's from Sarah and Shelly, so nice. And see here I've got some pens and stuff in that one. So I love these. So I bought all kinds of them for my plants as well at the dollar store. Just love them. If you are also in Canada, I think it's the Dollarama, because I know some of you might ask. Okay, so I used the second smallest circle die from the Deckled Circles, which I love these dies. And for the sentiment, I'm pulling in Nature's Prints. And I am going to first stamp a bit of a background on this circle. And I am going to use my grid and my crumb cake for that. I'm not pressing it too heavily because I don't want it to be any more than that. Just lightly, softly, subtly there. I'm going to stamp my sentiment with Azure Blue. And I am going to use Hello There because it fits in that circle perfectly. I'm going to ink the edges of this as well. And that is going to go out with some dimensional. And you know what? You could go this way. Had I thought of it, I would have stamped that stamp in a different direction. There's the completed card. Here's my original. And don't forget, I used Petal Pink here and Bubble Bath on this card. And both those colors work really well with the colors in that designer series paper. Okay, you ready to see the original card? This is the card that I cased. This card was made by my lovely friend Tamara. And I love all her cards. Every card that I get from Tamara, I just love. And I don't have any solid stamps like this right now that's current in my collection. So I just tweaked it, right? I just completely took the layout, kind of working down here instead of covering the whole card. So thank you, my sweet Tamara, for your inspiration. All right, moving on to the next card. This card features our Celebration Designer Series paper as well. This is softly stippled, and I have a pool party card base. My Designer Series paper is 4 by 5 1/4. I do have a die cut, and this is from our new perennial postage dies. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little itty bitty, teeny weeny, itsy bitsy bit of glue behind this die. And I'm just going to position it right on the center of my strip of white cardstock, 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to bring in my Nature's Prints, and I'm going to start stamping with the fern. And I'm going to stamp right over top of this as well. Kind of like the triple time stamping, which is so cool. I have a video for that as well on my channel. So many different ways you can use that technique. I'm bringing this plant in next. Lost Lagoon. That's the color I'm going for next. Now I'm bringing in the, I just call it a flower sprig, this stamp here from the Notes of Nature. And I'm going to stamp that with Wild Wheat. On top of that fern. I'll stamp a little bit right there. Get some of those softer, beautiful colors in when you stamp off. And because the pattern I'm using on this card has some of that Calypso coral, I'm going to pull some of that in. And I'm using the flower from Nature's Prints. Last thing I'm going to stamp on here are splatters, and I'm going to stamp my splatters with Pool Party to tie in my card base. Now I'm going to lift this off. You can use repositionable tape as well. I'm going to go ahead and glue this to my card. I did not cut that right. Need to do some trimming. But we're going to have to wait till that dries because I do not want glue on my scissors. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to glue this onto my early espresso. This is just a square piece of early espresso. And I'm going to put that on with Stampin' Dimensionals. And you want to line this up with the bits that are stamped behind it. See how I'm lining up the leaf and the stems and the fern. And I just got an idea for this too. I'll come back to that because I really do want it to be dry, but I have an idea. Now, this color is not even in this DSP pattern, but that's all right. We're gonna pull in our early espresso and notes of nature. Today is all about you. Happy birthday. Highland Heather is just gonna add a really fun pop of color. So I'm just gonna trim that out. Of course, you can use the paper trimmer. And I seen a trick earlier this year where the piece that you cut, you line it up over on the other end, you'll get the exact angle. Clever, huh? I forget who shared that, but super smart. So you could put this here and hide that smudge mark, or you could put it here, which is what I did on my original card. I'm gonna wait because I want to see how it's gonna look after I use my idea of flagging this. I am going to put this across the center. So because this is popped up on a dimensional, I'm going to use glue on that end and a dimensional on the other end. Just like so. And I'm going to take one of my dragonflies, which I know these are on back order right now, but they will be so worth it once they come back in stock. I love these. We'll put them right here. And you can call it a day. But I really think I want to add something here. So my idea is I'm going to take my tear and tape, lay it across, and I just love this trim, and I think it would look really pretty on this card. There is that card done. Took some twists and turns, mostly because that was such a busy pattern of designer series paper. I probably should have used the gray on the other side. The card that I made originally uses the pool party, which is perfect. I love this card. It works great. This was my last piece. Honestly, I have gone through my entire package of this paper. So I wanted to make sure everybody who got the card kits got something like this, so it wasn't so busy. So there's that card. And do you want to see the inspiration for this card? The inspiration for this card is in our annual catalog, page 101. It's actually this card, which looks so cool using the Scenic Wonders stamp set. But I just took the layout, and instead of using it portrait, I did it landscape. And see how it's got that pop of color? That color is not even in this stamp that I can tell. So it's just like that Shazam pop of color that you don't expect. And look how pretty. Like, just a great idea. Just taking it from that. And that's a straight edge square, whereas I used the perennial dies. So you see, take the ideas in our catalogs and play with them. Here's the third card, and I'm using Fairy Vanilla because Fairy Vanilla I don't think has been getting enough love these days, and we used to use Fairy Vanilla all the time. Do you guys use Fairy Vanilla? Leave a comment and let me know. I love Fairy Vanilla, but I do think it's been a little neglected and needs some lovin's. So this is my basic gray card base, and we're going to pull in the Field of Notes with the crumb cake again, and we are going to stamp that on this piece of Fairy Vanilla cardstock. And this cardstock measures 4 by 3 3/8, and it is going to be layered on a piece of early espresso cardstock that measures 4 1/8 by 3 1/2. And don't forget, I've got the tutorial already done up for you guys in the description below. Cause I loves ya. This way. Alright. Crooked. Flip it over. Stamp again. And it may be Friday afternoon, but or Friday evening, but I'm working on tea, guys. I'm not even into the wine. Perhaps that's a problem, but my point is I really never have an excuse for stamping crooked. Maybe it's my eyes. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's my hair color. I don't know. I don't care. It's all fun, and that's all that matters, is that you have fun when you're stamping. Now I'm keeping the right hand side more or less unstamped at the moment. So I'm not carrying these images over yet. All right, pulling in the leaves. What next? I think that's it, actually. No, it's not. Let's do our little sprig guy, and the sprig can go right here, and let's do a little sprig right there. Could be a little bit darker. Here we go. Good enough. Time for a pop of color, and I am using Gorgeous Grape. I'm just going to stamp that right there. Next, I have taken this die shape from the Something Fancy die collections, and I have cut the Perennial Lavender Designer Series paper and Highland Heatherton, and I am going to stamp this with the Gorgeous Grape as well. I'm going to stamp it again without re-inking. On my scrap piece of Fairy Vanilla, I'm going to just stamp this circle portion of the Field Notes image with Highland Heather, and I'm going to cut that out and glue it right on top of this one here. I'm stamping Best Wishes and Happy Thoughts. Stamp that with Early Espresso right onto my Fairy Vanilla, and then I'm going to stamp it again on a scrap piece of basic white and just cut out the Happy Thoughts part. I'm going to put this over towards the right instead of right in the center. And when I'm positioning things like this on my cards, I like to make sure it's even around the edges. And in this case, it's wider on the right, and that's because these are going to go on like so. And then I have some blue pearls that I'm going to tuck on. And I've decided I'm actually going to move these up just a bit. I take a piece of paper and just go back and forth, and it will lift your piece off without ripping your paper. And I'm just going to put some glue on those. Decided I want to add a little dragonfly, so I'm bringing in my dragonfly punch. I'm using my Lost Lagoon cardstock to pull in this color in here. I'm going to take my basic black marker, and I'm just going to color the center of my dragonfly. I'm going to use my clear Wink of Stella next for the wings. I'll show you. Here's the first one I made, and you can see how I made it different by stamping some extra images over to the right before I put these die cuts on. I also just put the dragonfly on this card, didn't put it on this one. So other than that, they're pretty much the same, but you can see how you can tweak things and change them up. Now you ready to see the original? This is the original card. I love this card. I don't know who this card was originally from, but I've had it for years, and you can see how I took the basic layout with the two shapes over here, the sentiment, and then just pulling in the colors into the rest of the card. Here is the last card we'll be making, and this one's my favorite. So I am going to start with a, this is gray granite? No, I think this is smoky slate. This is smoky slate. This is Orchid Oasis. So I'm just going to put that onto my card. I just gave my dog Rosie some coconut oil because she's having some issues doing her business. So I seen that could be helpful, and look it, I didn't clean my fingers good enough. So I'm gonna go wash my fingers now. All right, clean fingers. Lost Lagoon. This measures 3 3/4 by 5, and then I have gone ahead and cut out 6 pieces of basic white cardstock, and these each measure 1 1/2 by 1 1/2. So all I'm going to do is stamp them. I'm going to start with the Field Notes, and I'm going to stamp this with Smoky Slate. I am lining this up in the corner because I want this top portion of my stamp on there, but I love that circle. So I'm going to ink some of that up and just stamp it in the corner, just like so. So I'm going to put that aside. While I still have this ink pad, I'm going to take the leaves from the same stamp set and stamp that onto another square. Set that aside. Now I'm taking my flower sprigs and I'm going to stamp that with Orchid Oasis. And stamp down here. Stamp again and again, get that 3rd generation stamping on there. I am going to use this one right here. Stamp that also with Orchid Oasis. I'm only stamping the top portion because I don't need the whole stamp. And I got a little ink where I don't want it, so I'm going to flip it over, do it again, and that's because I kind of rocked my stamp. You want your stamp to go straight up and down, and look how perfect that is. And the next 2 pieces are going to be stamped with Lost Lagoon. One of the things that I always let new stampers know, especially people who are new to Stampin' Up, is our color coordination is absolutely key with our inks and paper and ribbons. Doing there. I want to do that again, so I'm going to stamp off twice and again. There we go. So yes, it wasn't filming when I thought it was. So all I've done is I've gone ahead and glued these on, and I've kept them a little bit more to the right because I wanted to save some space over on this side for my twine. So all I've done is I put a little bit of my tear and tape down below there, and I'm wrapping this around twice, and I'm going to put this on the card using Stampin' Dimensionals. Put a dimensional right there on the end, hold that in place. We'll do the same thing here. My card base in. This is a great color combination. First time I've used this color combination, I really like it. And I'm going to glue my smile on. You could use Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm just gonna tuck it right there. Now, what I did for this next bit is I took the perennial postage dies. I took this die right here, and I took this die. This die doesn't cut. It embosses. So let me show you what I did. This is Orchid Oasis, and I've got my mini machine here. I just simply lined this up like so and run that through my machine. Look what you get. Okay, but I'm going to make that pop out even more by using my white ink. You could use a blender brush for this. I simply use my finger because I feel like I can control the ink a little bit more. So now I do have inky fingers, and I'm just going to lightly go on top of this image. Very, very lightly. And now you can really see that image and the butterfly inside the circle. Just a cool trick. You can use this with little bits of your embossing folders. Like, isn't that neat? Fun embellishment. That is going to be put on with a couple dimensionals as well. Finish the card. I'm going to add some bling with my basic rhinestones. Here's the finished card. I love this card. Here's my original. Exactly the same. The only difference is I changed up some of the colors on the images. For instance, I used the Lost Lagoon on the fern here and the Orchid Oasis, and I also shifted them around a little bit. So let me show my original card that inspired me. I wish I knew who made this card or who came up with this design. I love it. Very simple, but very, very striking. But as you can see, just by taking a card layout, using the same layout, changing up your stamps, changing up the colors, changing up, you know, the little embellishments, you can really take one card design and go to town and have all kinds of beautiful different cards using what you have at home. I hope you enjoyed today's cards, friends, and got lots of ideas and inspiration. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Take care and happy stamping.